everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. It is Tuesday morning, nearly said Monday morning, got caught out by the bank holiday, but it's Tuesday morning and it's a massive week for Manchester United and it's a massive week for transfers, and I'm not going to beat around the bush on this show. There's been, a nice bank holiday weekend. I've had the bank holiday weekend off, I've been chilling at home, I've been going out, but I have been still checking Twitter, I've still been checking the news, and Manchester United, how are we supposed to compete at the top level? How is Erik ten Hag supposed to compete with Pep Guardiola when it's going into deadline week? We've got barely anything from what we need from the transfer window. We've still got players here that shouldn't be here, and our targets are Hojbjerg and then a left-back ranging from Cucurella, Reguilon, now Spinazzola has been mentioned, and another player as well that I'm going to get into. It's seriously embarrassing. It looks like Amrabat's off the cards. We're going for Hojbjerg, it seems. That for me isn't an upgrade on Fred, so it's a complete sideways move. And I just feel sorry for Erik ten Hag, to be honest, because he probably wants a striker as well, but we can't go and get one. And this is the cycle of Manchester United and their transfer team when you get in the Champions League. You don't get in the Champions League, it's a new manager, pump loads of money into it. You get Champions League football, you barely get anything. Mourinho had it, Ten Hag's getting it, and it's not okay. It's not okay. But anyway, it's a big week for Manchester United. Obviously, Arsenal coming up at the weekend. Got the Carabao Cup draw, we've got the Champions League draw, we've got a lot to get into. But more than anything, and good morning to everybody in the chat, getting your comments in. Make sure you keep them going. Good morning. I hope you have a good one. More than anything, Manchester United need to sign players, and I think we will sign players, probably loan moves, before the end of the window closes on Friday. Realistically, Erik ten Hag probably wants 3 players in. He'll want a left-back, he wants a midfielder, and he probably wants another striker as well. Don't think we'll get the striker, but the left-back and the midfielder I can definitely see happening. What route we go down, I'm not too sure. Whether we'll be happy with the personnel we get in, also not too sure on that. But I do think it's going to be a big week in United. For example, I do sense 2 new signings coming in. Whether they'll be good signings, that is a different question. But good morning, everyone. I actually saw, let's see if I can get that super chat back up that I saw before from Noni M. Please give a big birthday shout out to William Simpson from Noni and the mum. Noni, thank you very much for your super chat. Big birthday shout out to William there from everybody at the United Stand. And Shawboy Chucky says we need to buy 1 defender, 1 midfielder, 1 left back as soon as possible. That's the thing. I mentioned 3 signings with a striker as well. I actually also think we probably do need a centre back, but Maguire's not leaving, obviously, and there's that been whole drama with West Ham maybe coming back in for a loan, which I'd absolutely say no to, because it's just a way of, Maguire still getting the Man United pay, but going and playing as well and keeping his England career alive. So I'd say no to that. We should have gone with this. We should have gone with the sale. But Erik ten Hag has not got a lot of things that he needed in this window. And yes, we got Mason Mount in for 60 million. Yes, we got Højlund in and we paid too much, 75 million. And then we got Onana in, who was realistically feels like our only signing so far, because Mount's barely played and Højlund's barely played. But he massively needs more. Like this team, like I said, it wasn't built in a day, and you need to keep reinvesting in this team because of the depths it was. Like Rangnick said, it was open heart surgery. That needs to continue. Just because we've got Champions League football doesn't mean you draw back the money. Just because we might be selling the club doesn't mean, this summer, sorry, you're on a limited budget. And, we talked about financial fair play, and we said it a million times over. Chelsea have financial fair play. They've sold players. Man United haven't, because we're incompetent. But anyway, what is new? But I want to get started on a signing I actually have a feeling is going to happen. And it is Hojbjerg from Tottenham. So, Ten Hag obviously desperately wants a midfielder. We all know that. He wanted Amrabat as his first choice. Romano said that. But we've also explored the market looking at other midfielders, and Hojbjerg has cropped up, probably because he's an easy kind of player to go and get. Spurs want to sell him. So Manchester United continue to assess midfield options and are still looking to recruit in that area in the final few days of the window. And then Hojbjerg has emerged as a latest potential option, with United being offered the chance to speak to the player, coming from Sky Sports News. And then Sky Sports chef as well, Darmesh, has said Manchester United have made initial contacts over Hojbjerg, and Tottenham are open to a departure of Hojbjerg if a suitable offer comes in. So initially, I'll tell you my thoughts. I have a feeling a lot of people like Hojbjerg. I know he is quite liked. For me, it's not that I think he's a bad player. I think he's a good player. But it's not an upgrade. We sold Fred for peanuts to Fenerbahce, and then we're going to go and buy someone for more money that is at the same level as Fred. And I genuinely don't think Højbjerg's better than Fred. I don't think he is. So why are we selling Fred for peanuts and then going spending more money on someone that is a massively sideways move? It's the same level. I don't understand it. Spurs don't want him. And granted, you know, Antonio Conte played him, Mourinho liked him, but Ange Postecoglou has come in and he said, you know what, I'm not feeling Højbjerg, he's probably going to go. And that doesn't always mean that a player's bad. You know, a lot of people in the chat want Gravenberch and Tuchel hasn't really played him. It doesn't always mean a player is a bad player if they don't suit their manager and the manager doesn't want to play them. They can go under another manager and do really well. But I've seen Højbjerg with my own eyes. I've watched the Prem a lot of the time, and funnily enough, it's actually really funny. Me and my dad, obviously, we watch football together every weekend, and he's always one of the players we've said, like, we've always said, we think Højbjerg's a bit overrated, like, you don't really see it in him. And funnily enough, Manchester United are now going for Højbjerg, someone I've always said I don't really think is very good, to be honest with you. Like, I don't think he's bad, I just don't think he's the hype that people put on him, if I'm being honest. And I don't think it's an upgrade on Fred. But get in the chat down below what you guys think. We actually have got a poll going. So Højbjerg to Manchester United. It's all about opinions. Obviously, just because I don't really rate him, you guys might rate him. And obviously, Erik ten Hag's worked with him before. Coincidence? We think not. We know Erik ten Hag loves someone he's worked with before. But I do think that is a deal that we could do, and I think we probably will do. We're gonna get a midfielder in. Amrabat's gone cold, very, very cold. Maybe that we're gonna go for Højbjerg. You know, Premier League proven. Ten Hag's worked with him before. Tottenham want him to go. There was a deal in place with Atletico Madrid for Højbjerg. Massive Simeone player, Højbjerg. Simeone, he just screams Simeone, doesn't he? Like the way he plays. But it was a 30 million deal, by the way, 30 million euro deal, and it collapsed. So if Atletico Madrid were paying 30 million euros for him, I assume that's what Manchester United would be paying for him. Maybe a little bit less because it's towards the end of the window and Tottenham are probably desperate to make a bit of money on him because Postecoglou is not going to play him. So what is 30 million euros in pounds? I'm going to have a little look here to see how much it would be. So it's 25.7 million pounds. So I reckon with add-ons, we probably get Højlund out of there for around 23, 22 mil with the state of play that we're at now. We sold Fred for 10 mil. Like, why are we paying an extra 12 million for someone who's not better, in my opinion, not better? And if he is better, it's by a slight bit, but my personal opinion is he's not. I've seen a lot of people say that they think Højbjerg is an upgrade, and then people saying he's definitely not an upgrade. Disrespect to Fred, Fred's better. So, you know, people have mixed opinions on this. The thing is that screams out is I guarantee that, well, I can't guarantee it because obviously I don't have you all in a room here speaking to me. I can only see the chat. But I reckon that nobody, when they saw the Højbjerg news, sat at home and thought, brilliant. You know, Højbjerg, we're going to get him in, he's going to transform our midfield, it's a really good addition, he's going to be in the starting 11 for Man United. You know, it's a great player to come in and compete with our midfield. I get nobody sat there and thought that. I bet people are either thinking, it's better than nothing, it adds defensive security, he's decent. Decent isn't good enough to go and compete at the top level, I'm afraid to say, but that's the way it is. Lee said, hi Beth, great show. My fear is that you said Levi, but I think you mean Levy, is going to pull socks over our head for an average player. Personally, we should just go for Amrabat, period. Lee, I agree with you. I would go for Amrabat. I've said so many times, I think Amrabat is the right player to go for. He's there for 29 million euros, which is less than what Højbjerg was going for Atletico Madrid. Please make sense of it in my head that why we'd rather go for Højbjerg over Amrabat, I don't know. Amrabat seemed to be Erik ten Hag's first choice. We then heard the news from Samuel Lucas that a lot of people on Man United's transfer team turned their nose up at Amrabat. Maybe that's something to do with it. Not letting Ten Hag have full control of the transfers. We've seen this film before, we've seen this story before. So, who knows? I'm only guessing here, but it'll be interesting to see more information come out on it. Acid 23 says, Mount was a pointless signing, Anana awful signing, Rasmus out, Højbjerg worse than Fred. What is this club doing? The transfer team need bidding off. Very extreme super chat, and of course you're allowed your opinion. I would say give Mount a chance. I know he's not been great so far, but give him a chance. Anana's definitely not an awful signing. It is an upgrade. It is an upgrade, and he will be very good for us. We've not seen Rasmus yet. Yes, it's unfortunate he's been injured, but you know he's not even have a minute to play, so we can't write him off. And Højbjerg worse than Fred. That's one thing. I probably. I think they're similar levels. I wouldn't say he's worse, but I can understand why people would think that. And then let's see what the poll is saying. Højbjerg to Manchester United, I'm going to say no. 51% no, 49% yes. Wow, that is an interesting one. I really expected it to be not more in the majority of no. To me, that I feel like people maybe are getting a little bit desperate here towards the end of the transfer window, so the standards are dropping a little bit. But that's a really interesting take, that 49% of you say yes on that one and 52% say no. Fair enough. You know, like I said, everyone can have their opinion. For me, it would be a no. But at the same time, I can understand it, because if it was either nobody or Højbjerg, I'd get Højbjerg, because he does add the defensive reassurance that we need. He is a different profile to what we've got. He's replacing Fred, basically, which realistically, if we're never going to get an upgrade, we shouldn't have probably sold. So I would do it out of desperation, but he definitely wouldn't be my first choice. You know what poll we will get going? I think we should get going a poll of who would you rather have, Højbjerg or Amrabat. See what people think on that one. Mike Cable says, how the hell can we sell Fred for 8 mil, sign Mal for 60 and now Højbjerg? Fred is a better holding midfielder than both. Don't think Fred's a holder, but he offers something different. Emily Derry says Højbjerg is one of those signings where I think it's better than nothing, which is not good enough from United's recruitment team. Emily, exactly what I was just saying there. I took the words right out of my mouth, and 100% right. If this was it, if this was the opening week of the transfer window, I guarantee you that poll would be like 20% no. Sorry, 20% yes, 80% no. If this was the opening week of the transfer window, everyone would be sat here saying, why are we going for Højbjerg? Spurs don't want him. He's not really an upgrade. Why are we doing that? Because it's the last week and we know how thin our midfield is, everyone's like, you know what, Højbjerg will be all right. Because that's what we get tricked into thinking, because it's the desperation of being a Man United fan. It's like City are out here dropping 60 million on Matheus Nunes, who is a brilliant ball carrier. And for me, a very good player that's going to improve that team. And look at their team already. It's night and day, but what do we expect? What do we expect at the end of the day? Everyone's gutted in the chat, I think. I think people, not necessarily over Højbjerg, but gutted about just the way this transfer window has ended up going. Because I remember there was a point in the window where I was actually sat here saying, you know, if we get these outgoings gone, we get Amrabat in and we potentially go for a last-minute striker, this could be like an 8 out of 10 window. Now I'm looking at it and I'm like, it's a 4 out of 10, because things just went so drastically wrong after we got Højlund. Transfer window closed for Man United. Højlund was done. Not heard a peep since. That's the way it's gone. But anyway, Hugo Southcott says, better than Fred, but not ideal. And Mojo says, with 4 days to go, it is desperation time. Yeah, who are we going to get in as a last-minute loan on deadline day? They'll definitely be over 30. And they'll probably end up on, we're either going to sign someone on like a 1-year deal who's over 30 on massive wages, or we'll sign someone on loan who's probably over 30 as well, or not good enough. It's the way we go. Rob McCormack says, really don't want either, to be honest. Who do you want, Robert? I have a feeling you want McTominay to stay. And Jordan Bingley says, tired of United buying stopgap players, which over time cost the same as 100 mil players. We are now looking at the sloppy seconds of clubs. Exactly. Like, Man United are going for Spurs sloppy seconds. Let that sink in. We just got beat 2-0 off them, and now we're going for someone who doesn't even get into their team. It's embarrassing. Like, it genuinely is. Like, it is embarrassing. Like, let's call a spade a spade. We are embarrassment FC right now. And let's see what you guys think. I'm voting for Amrabat on that poll. 88% of you say Amrabat, 12% of you say Højbjerg. So another interesting take. Man United's recruitment team clearly wants someone who's Prem proven, whereas I think Ten Hag wants someone who is his first choice, which was Amrabat, who's going to be less money, and who for me can offer more. Any other super chats in here that I've missed? Nick P, Spurs reject is Charlotte a new low. It's bad enough that we have to hear how wonderful their new manager is because he says mate in front of every sentence. I love that super chat, Nick. I can't help but like Ange Postecoglou. Not that I like Spurs at all, but I think Ange seems like a nice guy. I think he speaks well in his press conferences and he clearly knows how he wants to play. I think he seemed. I quite like him from what I've seen of him. Obviously, has a bit of banter about Fantasy Premier League. I can get on board with that as an avid Fantasy Premier League player myself. So he seems decent, but like you said, it is a new low of embarrassment, going for more probably deadwood in another couple of years, and someone that Spurs don't want to play. And I genuinely said before going into the season, for me, Spurs shouldn't even be our competition. Like, they shouldn't be our competition. They should be fighting for top 4. We should be fighting for the title. That's the way Man United should be. But honestly, from the start of the season, you know, it's going to be a big battle with Spurs. They look pretty good. And now we're going for someone who can't even get in their team. But anyway, I digress. I had my little rant on Hojbjerg. Not a big fan. And I just think it's a massive sideways move. But I'll round up my point on that. One thing I would say is that I saw over the weekend that I just want to quickly mention, because obviously I've not been on any shows, is McTominay to Bayern Munich. Hello. I mean, I do think he'd be better in the Bundesliga because obviously you get more time on the ball and it's not as, you know, it's nowhere near as high quality as the Premier League. But fair enough, you know. Fair enough that he's obviously attracting clubs. He attracted West Ham, he's attracted Roma, he's now attracting Bayern Munich. I would happily do a swap deal with Gravenberch, happily. Don't see it happening, but I would happily be all over that deal. Ryan Joy says, hi Beth, is anything happening at the moment with cover for Luke Shaw? Going to get onto that in a second. And Gary Neville, member for 1 month. Gary, thank you for watching. We didn't expect you to be here on this Tuesday morning, probably because it's not Mark and it's me. That's why you're here, but thank you for watching. Roy Keane was right, we are the new Spurs. Yeah. Yeah. It's actually really sad to think of. If you don't laugh, you'll cry, won't you? If you don't laugh, you'll cry. But I do want to get on to the left-back options for Luke Shaw. I saw something this morning. I need to we need to hear a follow-up from the club or someone like Tier 1 to follow up on this. But I heard this morning that Luke Shaw could be out till December, end of December, because what's happened basically, because he's been playing every three or 4 days for a full season, is the muscles where he broke his leg have been kind of, you know, overworked, and he needs a rest from it, because if not, it could get really bad. So obviously he broke his leg in that horrible injury, which we were so happy he recovered from and came back better than ever. Like, Luke Shaw's been a very consistent player for us all last season. He's been good under Ten Hag, he really has. But apparently the muscles where he broke his leg have been overworked, basically, and he needs to have a break from football for a bit, or else it could get more serious. So Luke Shaw's going to be out probably for a lot longer than what we thought, which is really disappointing because he's a vital member of our team. I've got to admit, I think Dalot at left back against Forest, I really enjoyed. And he actually showed our fullbacks how you play as an inverted fullback. He did it brilliantly. He got in the midfield, he won balls in the midfield, he won headers. I thought it was a really underrated performance from Dalot, and I think if he continues playing as left back, one, it helps our midfield, but two, he's an intelligent footballer. So, you know, he's always in the right place at the right time. I thought he'd played really well. Can't get too carried away because it's Forest. No disrespect to Forest, because obviously they scored 2 goals within 4 minutes against us, so no disrespect to them. But we've got Arsenal at the weekend. That'll be a massive test against Bukayo Saka, who for me is one of the best right wings in the world, got to be honest. Not the best, but one of the best. So it's going to be a huge test. If we can do it in that game, I've got high hopes for Dalot, honestly, for the rest of the season playing at left back. So I'm not massively worried about getting a new left back in. I think if Luke Shaw's out till December, we do need to get a new left back in. When I thought it was out for a few weeks, I was like, you know, we can deal with it with Dalot. Malacia coming back in a few weeks, like, we can deal with it. If Luke Shaw is out till December, we do need to get left back cover. But I won't be surprised if we got left back cover in and Dalot kept them out of the team at left back. I'll just say that now. I wouldn't be surprised about it at all, especially with some of the names that we've been looking at, which I'm going to get into in a second. Sino Madanan says, Amrabat in and loan João Felix or any experienced striker? Yes. People love the idea of this João Felix loan, including myself, but I just don't think it's going to happen. A lot of you guys not feeling my Dalot take. Let's see what happens. A lot of you are worried about him. It's at Arsenal, but I trust him. I like him as a player. And, you know, there's a reason why Ronaldo said he's one of the players he thinks can reach the top level because of his attitude. He was the only one he named from Manchester United. I like him. He's a good footballer and he's played left back before, and he's intelligent enough to play inverted as well, which is what Ten Hag wants to do, and it helps the midfield. You know, Casemiro was nowhere near as isolated, of course, because we had more of the ball, but it was a big change. Apart from conceding them first 2 goals, it was the best we'd played all season, which isn't really that much competition, but it's something. It's improvement. But anyway, the left backs we've been looking at. So we've heard names of Reguilon, which genuinely makes chills go down my spine. Do not want Reguilon. Watching for Spurs, thought it was horrendous. No disrespect. Like really, I really don't think he's good. Also, Alonso. Marcus Alonso we've been linked to. Absolutely not. Not in a million years. I think defensively he's woeful. Going forward he's decent. Defensively he's woeful. Not somebody that I want to bring in. Then we got linked to Cucurella, who I said controversial one from my end. I would actually take. Getafe, he was brilliant. Brighton, he was superb. Chelsea, he was horrendous, but everyone was horrendous at Chelsea last year, and I think Ben Chilwell's a really, really good left back. So obviously, it's not obvious, but he's probably going to get the nod over Cucurella. But as a loan, by the way, I don't mean on a permanent. As a loan, Cucurella, I'd be for, because I think Ten Hag could get a tune out of him. I think he's shown in the past that he is good, so he'd be someone that I'd definitely be looking to explore. My first choice would be Rico Henry of Brentford. We got linked to him, but I just don't think that was just links. I don't think in a million years Brentford are going to let us get Rico Henry on loan, who is one of their better players, and he's a brilliant player for them as a left back. So Rico Henry would be my first choice, but we're just never going to get that deal done. Brentford aren't going to allow it, and so they shouldn't as well. Cucurella looks like Chelsea are open to letting him go for a bit of a loan fee. That's the one I'd go for, definitely. But the news coming out this morning, this is from DiMarzio, that Manchester United have inquired about Leonardo Spinazzola. You guys will know Spinazzola probably from the Euros in 2020. Was it 2020 or 2021? I think it was 2021? 2020? I'm not sure. Someone will have to let me know when the last Euros was. My head's spinning. But I remember Spinazzola. I remember Spinazzola from that. Very good player. 30 years old, can play as a left back, as a left wing back, can also play slightly further forward if you want him to, but probably the best position is as a wing back or as a full back. And he got into team of the tournament, I remember, obviously when Italy won that Euros. He had a very, very good competition. I like this player, I wouldn't mind it. Problem for me, big problem for me, is the injury record, and he's injury prone. We need to get a left back in to cover for Luke Shaw because he's injured. Not going to be any good if we get Spinazzola in and within a couple of weeks he's injured. Because that could very well happen. I'm going to let you know about his injury record in a second. So for me, something I would stay clear of, even though I think he's a good player. I just think we want someone that's going to be fit, and Spinazzola does have quite a bad track record with injuries. Neil Val, welcome to the United Stand Members Club. It was Euro 2020 in 2021. That's why I was getting confused with it, with all the COVID stuff. Everything got set back, didn't it? Spinazzola is washed up. Yeah, he's not someone I'm going to get excited about again. But no one is that we're being linked to right now. No one is. The fact I'm sitting here saying, you know what, yeah, I'll take Cucurella on loan. Like, that's the best it's got. Like, Cucurella's the best name we've been linked to in like the past week. Doesn't that say something? And I do think Ten Hag can get a tune out of him. Someone said, does Ten Hag get a tune out of anyone? I mean, Luke Shaw improved under Ten Hag. For me, Bruno improved, even though he was already good, but his game kind of became more defined and more consistent. Rashford improved. Like, players have improved under Erik Ten Hag. He still needs to do more, 100%. But I think Cucurella with a fresh start could be decent. But Spinazzola is obviously a left back that we've been interested in, coming from DiMarzio. Someone said, what is his injury record? I'll read it out for you. So last season, he missed 14 games of the season. Not too bad. Still not something you want to see. The season before that, 2021 to 2022, he missed 56 games. His Achilles ruptured. So that obviously is a really horrible injury that you wouldn't wish on anyone. And it's really sad, but he missed 56 games in that season. And the season before that, 2020 to 2021, he missed 21 games. So it's not the injury record you want to see. It's not the worst injury record I've ever seen, but it's obviously the Achilles makes it look a lot worse than it is. When your Achilles ruptured, like, you're going to be out for a year most of the time. Like, it's an awful injury to have. 14 games last season, 21 games the season before the Achilles rupture. It just isn't something I would personally want to go down that route. I wouldn't want to go down that route. I want someone that's going to be able to stay fit. A lot of the times the best of ability is availability. And if you get Spinazzola and he gets injured, what's the point of getting cover? We want someone who's going to be able to stay fit. And Bova said Erik ten Hag will run him into the ground. I think anyone's going to get run into the ground with the amount of games we have and the lack of squad depth we have, if I'm being honest. Like, it's not exactly Erik ten Hag's fault he doesn't have the depth. And a lot of people say, trust the second team. The second team played in a friendly behind closed doors against Burnley and got beat 3-0. I think we've seen the reason why Erik ten Hag doesn't trust the second team. It's not as good. It's not. And I know on tour, Ricky was saying, the second team was better, even look at the games. And to be fair, a few times they were, but when push comes to shove, our second team's nowhere near good enough. Like, it isn't. So that's why players are getting run into the ground as well. So yeah, obviously had a great Euros, but in that Euros, Harry Maguire also got team of the tournament as well. So you can't really take too much of it. Take it a little bit with a pinch of salt. But seriously, Maguire was very good for England. To be fair, we've just not seen that form for United. And Spinazzola is a good player, but for me, I'd stay clear because of injury prone. But get in the comments what you guys think. Another player that we've been linked to is Tagliafico, Argentine left back who plays for Lyon, 30 years old as well. And Romano said, Manchester United have called to ask for the conditions of a deal for Tagliafico, who Ten Hag knows very well. Obviously, the starting left-back for Argentina, who won the World Cup, that's a tick for me because I like a full-back that can win trophies. And he's won probably the highest honour in football, which is the World Cup. He's a decent player. He plays for Lyon. Again, nothing special. But I think I would prefer him. He'd probably be, him and Cucurella probably be the two players that I'd be looking at to fill in for left back out of all the options that are out there. And Ten Hag has worked with him before. Ten Hag knows him very well. What's the running theme here, guys? Ten Hag loves players that he knows, and I can understand it a lot. He gets slated for this a lot. I can understand it because you look at where we're at right now. Ten Hag needs a left back. He wants someone that he knows is going to be good. Like, we can't afford to get someone in who isn't good enough to be playing, because they're going to play. Because Luke Shaw's injured. Dallo can't play every game. We don't know when Malassi's going to be back. So we need someone good enough. So no wonder he wants to go for someone that he's worked with before. Like, you can't blame him. And Tagliafico, by the way, I do think that's the category that we should be going for if we are getting a left back to fill in. Do I think it's going to happen? Can't see it, to be honest. But is it someone I'd definitely like to go and get if we're getting a loan in to cover Luke Shaw? Yeah, he's someone I'd go and get. I thought he was great in the World Cup for Argentina. Obviously, we were doing the watch-alongs and that's football. And I think he's someone who's actually good enough to come in and play first-team football for Man United in the Premier League. So him and Cucurella would probably be my top two choices. But get in the comments down below what you guys think. Let me look at the chat here. No. Ryan's on his burner account. I've just seen MLKOJK say Evans at left back. No. Just no. Robert McCormack says Tagliafico, different class to the others. Yeah, he is someone that, for me, I think would be obviously the first choice. A lot of people saying, what about Alvaro Fernandez at left back? Kind of player that's come through the academy. Alvaro Fernandez, young player of the years at two different clubs. Had a really good loan spell. Obviously, I think it was Preston. Was it Preston North End he went to and had a really good loan spell? And on the tour looked pretty good. I think he should get given a chance. But from what I've seen, I don't think he's ready for first-team football at Man United right now. To be eased in, yeah. But to ask him to come in and step up and play instead of Luke Shaw until December, it's just not fair to put onto him. And I don't think he's ready for it as well. Everyone as well, get a like in the video if you're excited for, well, you might not like it if I tell you this, but get a like on the video if you're excited for this week coming up. We've got Arsenal, we've got Carabao Cup draw, we've got Champions League draw. It's an exciting week, and also deadline day on Friday, and we've got some special stuff planned on the United Stand. Got some really cracking interviews coming up as well. So make sure you hit a like on the video. As you can see there, big week for Man United. Wednesday, Carabao Cup draw. Thursday, Champions League draw. Friday, the press conference and the deadline day, and then Sunday, Arsenal away. This could be like it could be an amazing week or a really, really bad week. The transfer window closes on Friday. We've got nobody in that we wanted to. Ten Hag's left high and dry. We then get beat or slapped off Arsenal, because it is a possibility with the way we've been going on Sunday. We've got nothing we can do to rectify it because the transfer window's already closed. Everyone's going to be in a bad place. But, we get some good last-minute signings in. I'm not holding my heights up for brilliant. I'm talking good See, say if we managed to sign Amrabat and Tagliafico before the window ended, I'd probably take that at this moment in time. And then Sunday, we go there and we beat Arsenal, which I think Man United, again, are also capable of doing. We're capable of beating them, we're also capable of a slapping. Like, you never know what Man United's going to come out. But I do think we're capable of beating them, especially the way that, you know, they've started the season, Arsenal. I don't think they've been great, to be honest with you. Not as good as they were last year. Then it's a really good week. So we've got some things to look forward to, but also it could go wrong. So everyone keep your fingers crossed. Eric Byrne says, spending my birthday morning watching Beth on the United stand. Eric Byrne, thank you so much. We appreciate you and I hope you have a lovely birthday and Man United can get some good business done for you. For your birthday, yeah, before Friday deadline. But yes, someone just said in the chat, bring back Ed Woodward. No. Like, that's the depths that we've been going to, seriously. No, John Murtough's better than Woodward, but I mean, is he? Is he really looking at the transfer window? No, he is, but he's nowhere near good enough for what we need at all. And I think as soon as we get new owners, to be honest with you, I think his job's up for grabs, to be honest with you. I don't think he's covering himself in glory at all. But what I wanted to speak about then, when I was speaking about, obviously there's this narrative that Erik ten Hag only goes for, you know, he doesn't only go for players that he's worked with or he knows before, because we have had Casemiro in, who he obviously hadn't worked with before. He also, I'm trying to think of anyone else who he hadn't worked with before, who we've got in. Højlund he hadn't worked with before. Everybody else he'd worked with or known before. Thinking about it, because think about last window. Obviously Martinez, he knew. Anthony, he knew. Eriksson had trained at Ajax, so he knew him. Was there anyone else? Malacia he knew from the Dutch league. He kept an eye on him in the Dutch league. Then this season, Mason Mount, he knew from the Dutch league. Obviously, he didn't manage him, but it caught his eye there. Ryan Gravenberch, who he wants to go for, he's worked with before. De Jong, he wanted to go for, who'd worked for before. Hojbjerg, he's worked with before. Onana, who's worked with before. Wow, okay, so Ten Hag does like people he's worked with before. I thought this was like a kind of narrative that was getting a bit out of hand, but now I've thought about it. I knew he'd got players he'd worked with or known before, but the only person he's probably had no affiliation to whatsoever is Casemiro. Because, you know, Højlund does actually have the same agent as Erik ten Hag. Gakpo he wanted, who he knew had the same agent and knew from the Dutch league. So, you know, we are worked before with FC or known before FC. But what I want to bring into this one is, I think there is a plausible reason for this, and I'm not giving Erik ten Hag a get out of jail free card at all, because, you know, I do think you should venture out for players, you know, that it doesn't mean they're a bad player just because you've not worked with them before. And Erik ten Hag knows that. It's why he got Casemiro in. But I don't have a problem with him going for players he knows before or he likes before. The reason I don't have a problem with it is because I can see why he's doing it. Man United's transfer team, clearly, when they bring their targets to Ten Hag, he's like, no. Because you look at Liverpool and you look at Man City. We've seen it before. Like, Klopp wasn't the one who went and scouted out Salah. He wanted someone different. Liverpool's scouting team came to him and said, no, we think we should go with Salah. It really suits your style of play. This is who we've scouted out for you. This is who we think we should go for. They come to the agreement on it. Liverpool's scouting team do the work. Man City's scouting team do the work. That's what scouting teams are there for. Pep obviously has the final say and Klopp will as well. But they have scouting teams that are big behind him. Erik ten Hag came to Man United last season. They said, you know, we think we're going to go for Pau Torres this year. You know, we're linked to Pau Torres for ages. That's who we were planning to go for at centre-back. Ten Hag says, no, I want Timber. We couldn't get Timber, I want Martinez. And then Erik ten Hag really started to take control of the transfers. Every single transfer Man United have got in has been hand-picked by Erik ten Hag. And yes, the manager should have a say, but he also should have a very, very good transfer team behind him, a scouting team, telling him what players they've identified that suits his style of play, that they think are going to be the next big thing, or they think they can go and bring to Manchester United that Erik ten Hag is going to work with and going to like. This clearly hasn't been happening effectively, because Ten Hag would have done it otherwise. He's had to go with players he knows and he trusts, because he's basically been doing two jobs, a manager and the recruitment team and scouting team. But also, at the same time, someone says we would have been great if we had Rangnick here as the director of football. Wouldn't it have been the guy who identified Luis Diaz, who identified Alvarez, other players I could sit here and name? Wouldn't it have been great to have him? But Man United shoved him out the door as soon as they could after they badmouthed him in press. After he didn't badmouth him, but he came out and said it how it was. He said the truth, which a lot of the time, you know, that can go down badly at Manchester United. Why do you think Erik ten Hag's changed the way he speaks in press conferences this year? it's all, it all kind of makes sense when you think about it. Ten Hag started off, being really honest and was a man of few words at first in press conferences. But, Mark said it before, a lot of people have said it, he's been United-fied recently. Like, he has started to kind of, talk like old managers would talk. Why do you think this happens? Someone who doesn't do that, like Rangnick, got shoved out the door as soon as possible. We all know what happened behind the scenes. So, to my point, basically, if you were starting as a manager at a new job, and say you have a team of people that you've got to run this team, and this team's got to be the best it can be. Whether it's a sales team, whether it's a recruitment team, whatever it is, or a football team even, you've got to run this team, you want got to be the best. And you've got a lot of pressure on you because this department in your company used to be the highest flyer. It used to be winning all the awards, you used to be the top earners, it was the highest flyer. But you come into this team and it's now basically you're just like demolished. It's getting nowhere near the numbers it needs to get, it's failing and it's lagging. And the personnel has just slowly over the years just become more and more average. And you're the new manager and you're looking at this and you're thinking, the expectations I've had coming into this job is I've got to be at the top. The personnel I've got in to do it aren't capable of that. I need to get people in quickly that I know are going to be good enough. When you're hiring then, and you've worked, the reason you've got this job is because, you've worked in other companies before, you've been really good at it, you've worked with people, you've grown stuff. When you have the opportunity to hire people for positions, when you need someone you know is good now, do you take that risk and go for someone you don't know, but, has come in and had a really good interview, they've got a really good track record, but it's not nailed on that they're going to come in and be able to do this job to the way you want them to do it? Or do you go and get someone who you've worked with before, who you know for a fact can come in and be good enough? It's a very long analogy, but I think that's the situation that Erik ten Hag's in. There's a lot of pressure on him to be getting, to the top, which there absolutely should be as Man United manager. That should be the case. But he's walked into a team that doesn't have the facilities for that. Like, let's put it bluntly. This team has a track record of having a loser's mentality, let's be honest. And I love these players, I love this team, but that's what he walked into. We'd lost final after semi-final. We didn't win anything under Ollie. The last thing we'd won is the Europa League with Jose Mourinho. It'd been over 6 years since the trophy. So this team hadn't had the winner's mentality. It hadn't have been finishing as high as we'd liked. Obviously, under Ollie, getting second was a miracle, I have to admit. And it was in COVID time, so, it is a little bit different. Under Mourinho, the highest we got was second, still quite far off the top as well. But he needs to start competing. He's got his way he wants to play. He needs people in that are going to be able to do what he wants them to do straight away. Therefore, you can't blame him for going for people who he knows can do that. And I think that's what you've seen that pattern kind of, develop. I think once Ten Hag gets he's got his feet under the table. But say Man United comfortably are competing towards the top this year and they win another trophy. A slight bit of pressure's relieved, but obviously more expectation comes on you. But the more Ten Hag builds his squad and the better quality it becomes, I think the more you'll see Ten Hag venture out and go for other targets he's not worked with before because he can afford to take that risk, is what I would say, because he's already got a good base there. He's got a good baseline. Once he gets his base starting 11 sorted and he knows it's good enough, I think you'll then start to see him venture out. But for now, he needs people that he knows are going to perform. And you can say what you want, whether you think these players are performing or not. I know there's a lot of mixed opinions on Anthony. Martinez has obviously been brilliant. Mixed opinions on Malacia. But a lot of them signings have worked out. We'll see how this year's do, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But that was a long-winded kind of conversation, but I think that a conversation that needs to be had, because that's how I see it going with Ten Hag at the minute as well. Let me get some super chats in, because I missed some there where I was going kind of off on that tangent. Let me have a look. The chat was going quickly then. So Anthony Mayock says, "Hi Beth, do you think we can get top four going on this current transfer window? I'm worried about it. Keep up the great work." Thank you, Anthony, for your super chat. My head says no, because of how good the teams are around us. Spurs look good. I know it's only been a couple games. Arsenal obviously have invested well. City are going to, for me, probably run away with the league. Chelsea are better this year. Liverpool got a good result against Newcastle that I think will give them good morale. Newcastle again, good team. So my head says no, my heart says yes. But on this transfer window, it's been nowhere near good enough. And then I've got a super chat in from Stuart Malin saying, window has stalled, new signings are not expensive. Apparently we have to sell to buy. Why can't we sell? Like, we have players that we can sell. Why have we not? Like, it's a question I keep circling back to. Upheaval says, what signings have worked out? Well, there has been signings that worked out. Casemiro worked out, obviously. People questioned him at the start of the season, which I think is ridiculous, but Casemiro's worked out. For me, this is my opinion, Martinez has worked out. I think Onana will work out. Not completely made my mind up on Malassi yet, but he seemed decent for the price last season. Ericsson was a good buy on a free transfer. You can't avoid that. Anthony still has massive question marks over his head, let's be honest. And then, obviously, we've not seen enough of the new signings for this summer to say anything. But I don't think it's, you know, I think the signings, there's never going to be, right, never, ever, is a coach going to get every single signing right. There's going to be some signings that don't work out. You rarely ever see it. Even Pep has some bad ones in there that don't end up working out. It's very rare, but there has been some, like that left-back Gomez, I think isn't very good. I don't think Zinchenko was very good when they bought him, to be honest with you, and I still don't think he's great. I think he's massively overrated. Like, there's been a couple, but Pep's obviously, for me, I think the best manager in the world right now, which is so horrible to say as a Man United fan. But he signed well, but there has been a few bad ones. Klopp, who again has been a brilliant manager of the Premier League in the time that he's been here, not as kind of that Liverpool team have fallen off a little bit over the past 2 years. But he's had some terrible ones. Naby Keita, Minamino, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, for me, didn't really offer much. Like, he's not had some great signings either. So every manager has signings that don't work out. Like, it does happen. But with Ten Hag, I honestly look at it and I don't think there's anyone that he's brought in that can wholeheartedly say they are a flop, they aren't going to work. And a lot of people say Anthony because of the price. He's 22, he's got time in him. I think Ten Hag's also being judged by, you know, flop signings of the past. Like, Maguire's been a flop signing. Sancho, I wouldn't call a flop, but he's not been as what we've expected, has he? Like, he's not reached the heights that we'd want from him. There's been others as well that I could sit here and name, but I think people are being a little bit too harsh on Ten Hag's transfers just because they're not happy with the transfer window we've had this year. But again, it's not his fault. He's asking for Amrabat. He's asking for another striker. He was told Greenwood was coming back, whether you agree with that or not. That's what he was told. That's not happened. You know, he wanted another centre-back. He wanted Kim Min-jae. Maguire wouldn't leave. He's tried freezing him out of the squad. He still won't leave. He wanted to sell McTominay to get another midfielder in. Stuff hasn't happened. He wanted to sell Donny van de Beek. It's not happened. He sold Fred. He was probably told he was going to get another midfielder in, but it's not happened. So I think Ten Hag's getting blamed a little bit too much at the moment for stuff that is out of his control, to be honest with you. But yes, a lot of people saying Anthony has been a flop, Mount will be a flop. I don't think Anthony is a flop yet. I'm still holding out for him. I still am. Weghorst, yeah, but you can't say Weghorst was really Erik Ten Hag's signing. He got him on loan because he was absolutely desperate and United wouldn't spend a cent. He had to do what he could do. Weghorst was probably one of the only options we could go for. Like, you can't blame Ten Hag. It's not as if he signed him on in the summer as well. He literally had to go for someone as a stopgap. You know way Erik Ten Hag sat there in January and thought, do you know what I really want? First choice. Murto, got my first choice. Wout Weghorst. Yeah, that's who I want. Can't get into Burnley's side. Yep, that's my first choice. No, he wanted João Felix on loan. Man United wouldn't pay the loan fee. He ended up going to Chelsea. We then wanted, you know, he will have wanted other players, but we had to do something on the cheap. That's why he ended up getting Wout Weghorst. Ten Hag didn't go out seeking Wout Weghorst. Stuart Marlin says, you can't blame Ten Hag for the signings that Ten Hag never made. Ten Hag will build a winning team given enough time. I thought he needed a 5-year contract to succeed, minimum, guys. Interesting one. I'll round the show up on this. What do you guys think about the news coming out that Ten Hag's set to be offered? And is it does anyone know in the chat, is it a 3-year extension or a 4-year extension on his deal? New contract with increasing his wage as well. What do you guys think about that? Because I love Ten Hag. and you guys love him. I've just been told here in my ear, thank you very much, that it is a 4-year extension that he's going to be offered. And I love him. You know, I've said before, a lot of people say Mourinho. I did really like Mourinho. I loved Mourinho. He was such a character. But I think he definitely has the potential to be the best manager post-Fergie. And I think he has the potential to take us to win trophies, Premier League, Champions League. He has that potential in him as a manager. I really do. But I do think it's a bit early. Like, I love Ten Hag and I wanted us to get him, but I'm going to be honest, I do think it is a little bit early to be giving out that length of a contract, especially with the way Man United go. What I would say is that if Ten Hag did get sacked, which I don't think he will, and I really hope he doesn't, I would be absolutely gutted, because for me it'd be down to the failure that is Manchester United's board, recruitment team, and the way it's ran and the ownership. It would be, because it's a tale that's been going on since Fergie left. Manager comes in, invest a load of money, they do well, they get Champions League football, they want to carry on building, money's restricted, they do badly, manager gets, you know, kind of agitated. We've seen it with Van Gaal, we've seen it with Mourinho, we've seen it with Rangnick. Obviously, Rangnick was a bit of a stopgap, but manager gets agitated. Also, you know, fans start to turn because they have no one to turn against. We've always been against the Glazers, but you're frustrated, you're sick of losing. It happens. And then the manager goes, get a new manager in, massive investment, does well, investment's taken away. That's kind of the cycle that's been. Obviously, Moyes didn't fit that because Moyes was just terrible from the get-go. But that is kind of what's been happening with Man United, and I don't want Ten Hag to fall down that rabbit hole, because I really like him, and I think he has the potential to be the manager, like I just said, that can win us things. But I do think it's a little bit early for a contract, and maybe wait till the end of the season. But I like the fact we're getting behind him, I suppose. But that is the news, guys, from today. As a reminder for you, tomorrow we've got the Carabao Cup round 3 draw. Who will Man United draw? Hopefully we draw someone that we can easily beat, so our squad can get rotation. Knowing Man United, we'll end up getting probably a tough one. Although we did have a decent draw in the Carabao Cup last year, didn't we? But draw for the Carabao Cup on Wednesday. Thursday, the big one. It is the big one. We're back in the Champions League, and I cannot wait. Odds on us drawing Sevilla, by the way. Odds on. I'd bet on that now, if I were you, seriously. But Champions League draw, I'm well excited to see who we get in our group for that on the Champions League. Friday, obviously, Ten Hag's press conference for the Arsenal game, also deadline day. We've got interviews coming up. We've got an interview at 4 p.m. tomorrow. We've got an interview on deadline day as well. Sunday, we've got Arsenal away. It's a big, big week. Also, get in the comments, by the way, predict what our transfer window will be at the end of the season. Predict what our incomings will be. I'd be interested to see. If I had to predict now, I would probably say we'll get a midfielder and a left back. Who the midfielder will be, I don't know. Won't be surprised if it's a loan. Hojbjerg wouldn't surprise me. I think Amrabat's ship might have sailed. I've heard nothing on it recently, and it just feels like it's not going to happen, which is gutting. But get in the comments what you think. Also, hit a like on the video if you're excited to start playing Champions League football again. Thank you everyone for watching. Stay tuned. We'll be back for the 2 p.m. show and more transfer news as it comes in. Have a lovely day, everyone. I'll see you on the next one.